Thanks for joining. We're going to wait about another 30 seconds or so, and I think Matt's going to play a short video while we wait, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the webinar. Hello, and welcome to our Color Edge Creative Mastermind webinar. My name is Kevin Burke. I'm a business development manager here at EIZO, and I'll be your host today. We're hosting an ongoing series of these webinars featuring EIZO Color Edge power users who are also recognized leaders in their profession, including photography, print, digital art, animation, visual effects, and post-production. The Creative Mastermind series is brought to you by EIZO, the makers of the 2020, this year's Academy Award-winning Color Edge self-calibrating color accurate monitors that are preferred by the most discerning creative people everywhere. Today, we're pleased to have our newest Color Edge ambassador, digital artist David Brodeur, also known as Brilly or Locked and Loading. Brilly is a director and digital artist from the US. His client list includes some of the largest brands in the world, such as Google, Gucci, Stars, Adobe, Nike, Audi, BMW, and Air Jordan, to name a few. He also has created visuals for musical artists such as Skrillex, Eamon Tobin, Drake, Scott Storch, DJ Carnage, and Diplo's Mad Decent label. In addition to his own brand and clients, he's also a 3D animation professor at one of the top art colleges in the world, Ringling College of Art and Design. His personal work is known for having a wide range of imagery through his various series collections. He's been creating his trademark art series for over 9 straight years now. Brilly is also a pioneer in the exploding NFT crypto art movement and has sold his own art and helped other artists do the same using NFT. For the next hour or so, he's going to provide clarity on some of these topics like crypto art, NFTs, he'll define those, how to create your own NFTs, how to successfully sell your crypto art and where you sell it, and getting paid for your work. Plus, he'll drop some art and art business knowledge from an experienced artist's point of view. And of course, we'll take your questions afterwards. So please send your questions in the chat. Also joining us today is Matthew Choi, our marketing manager here at EIZO US. Now that he's finished with his producer responsibilities with the beginning and intro of our webinar here, he's going to join us today. He is an artist himself and a big fan of digital art, and love to have him. So welcome, Brilly and Matthew.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us with our 7th Creative Mastermind webinar. This is an ongoing series. Kevin and I are humbled to be your producer and host of these events. We also like to thank the people that support these events, from our upper management to the team that put in the time and effort to making sure we produce something nice. Hopefully, we bring you guys intriguing topics and also an insight into the minds of these creatives. So welcome, Brilly, AKA David Brodeur.
What's going on, everybody? Oh, I'm super excited to be here. This is going to be a great chat. I'm really excited to jump into it.
Well, it's an honor to also have you. So this is insane. We've known each other for about 3 years now. And the beginning of this year is when we got serious about talks about working together. And I think that's about when you started talking about your crypto art drop on Nifty Gateway. I think this was back in February 3rd to be exact, all right? Well, you know, we at EIZO, we were really pretty clueless about what you were talking about. And then bam, news of Michael Winkelmann of all names sells this stuff or Beeple, what people know him as Beeple, right? Sells his stuff for 69 million or something like that, right? That's crazy. Now we know you know him on a personal level and all, and that's great. But we're here to get to know you and also pick your mind and get to know about what NFTs and crypto art is all about. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming to educate us and our audience about what crypto art and NFTs are and how to be successful with that. But before we dive in, you just had your own drop. Now you don't have to tell us your numbers, but please walk us through the whole experience.
For sure, I'd love to. Yeah, I mean, it feels like it was a year ago now, but it was just on 3/15. So just like a week ago, it kind of wrapped up because it went for 24 hours for the whole auction of it. But yeah, it was a absolutely amazing experience. It was a piece I called the first and the last, and that's why in the beginning, if you heard that, it's like I've got like 3 names. You're like, what the hell? Why does he have so many artist names? This was actually a pretty significant drop because I also changed my artistic name with it as well. But yeah, it was a total of 16 pieces of my digital art. Pretty much my favorite pieces that I've made known as Locked and Loading. And on the drop, I had an unknown piece of art. So it was a blind auction. And basically anybody that wanted to bid on it did not get to see what it was until after the auction was over. And then the artwork appeared. And during that moment, my artist name changed officially to Brilly. If people have questions about that later, like why the name change, how did that come about, I'd be happy to run through that story. But yeah, the NFT
I want to know
space,
right now.
Yeah. Should I jump in? Should I jump into it now? Should I go into it now?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right, cool. So basically up until I was a junior in high school, I wanted to just be a professional baseball player. I was just really into sports and that's all I wanted to do. I always had loved art, but at like some point growing up, it became kind of, something that I didn't do all that frequently anymore, or definitely didn't think of it as a career opportunity. And I really just wanted to go to college for baseball. And I'm so happy I didn't, because I would have gone to a major university, probably wouldn't made the pros at all. And most definitely would have flunked out from like partying too much. So I'm like, it was perfect that didn't go to a major university. But in high school, I was snowboarding, and I grew up in Philly, and the mountains that we go to up there are called the Poconos, and like so it's a lot icier, kind of snow. And I spent most of my time in the terrain park and never got hurt. However, we were doing the last slope of the day. I hit a grass spot, flipped over, and broke my collarbone. And then this is the actual beginning of my artistic being an artist as a career choice. And so I was in an 8-point harness for about 3.5 months. It was a bad break too. I couldn't even lay down on my back. I had to like sleep at like a 45-degree angle. So it was brutal. But during that time, I couldn't play any sports, right? So I would come home and I'd be just strapped up, couldn't really do anything. And I was watching the Discovery Channel. And there was an artist on there. His name is Mike Lavallee, and he was doing true fire flames on cars, motorcycles, helicopters, boats, all sorts of stuff. And I was blown away by it. I was like, "That's amazing." So
that's cool.
I went down. My parents took me down to the art store in South Philly. It's called Blick, and I bought an airbrush. And so I went down my basement. We had some scrap pieces of drywall, and I just started airbrushing on the drywall. And I guess a few weeks had passed, and then my parents had stumbled across some of the stuff that I was painting, and they were blown away by it. And they're like, "You need to show your art teachers this in school, and really get involved in that." So I did. My art teachers were like, "You have to build a portfolio, and you have to go to college for this." And that was like the beginning of my art career. So let's get into Brilly. So I started getting into graffiti. And so after I did airbrush, and graffiti was kind of natural progression for me. And so my graffiti tag name was Brilly. My friend and I were coming up with what our tag names could be. So it was really simple. It's just a mixture between my last name Brodeur and Philly, and it was Brilly. And I was like, that's weird. It's awkward, but it's kind of like memorable. I don't know. And so I would just start tagging it everywhere.
What year was that? What year was that?
So
tagging in all the graffiti.
Yeah, probably 2005.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, 2005. And then like, I didn't do it all that long because it got to a point where I was like, yeah, if I get arrested for this, it's kind of a stupid thing to get arrested for at a certain point for
Right.
me. And I know some people like do it forever. But yeah, I was more of a tagger, so I didn't do like big murals or anything. I tried to do a
Oh, you're a
couple.
tagger.
Yeah.
Oh, tagger, dude. I don't like taggers. No,
Yeah, well,
I was actually into graffiti too. So yeah, back in the days, back in '92, over
nice.
here in Huntington Beach, it used to be illegal and all that. And we used to hate taggers because they come around and tag on top of your beautiful artwork, and you're just like, man, oh,
Yeah, I never tagged on anyone's artwork. It was always kind of like a respect level for that
cool.
you wouldn't do that. I never did that to anyone's artwork. And kind of Philly, like a lot of people like have that kind of respect, especially like if it's like a
That's
nice
cool.
mural or something. No one tags on those. And Philly does a really unique thing too. They actually hire local artists in neighborhoods to do the big murals on stuff
Oh,
to
cool.
keep people from tagging on them because they've got like the respect in the neighborhood, and then no
That's
one messes
awesome.
it up. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So yeah, I loved it. I love the whole culture. And Philadelphia is actually as far as I know, is the first place known to start graffiti, and it was tag graffiti. And so like there's kind of like a deep heritage and roots there as well. But yeah, so Brilly was it. Brilly was like my original artist name when I knew I was going to do this for a career. And then how did Locked and Loading come about? Well, Locked and Loading, once I was done in the industry, or done working for a studio in the industry, and said I want to set out and like kind of be on my own and do my own thing. I was like, what name could I use? And I came up with Locked and Loading as a way that I thought it could represent me as an artist, but also if I wanted to create like a studio or my own business, it could represent multiple people, and it just could like might not just be attached to me, it could be everybody.
Yeah.
And really it was just kind of like it was like locked, like off obviously the phrase locked and loaded, like I'm ready to fire, ready to go, ready for action. And then like I changed loaded to loading for kind of like the digital kind of realm that we're in. And I was like, yeah, that's fun. I like it. It's catchy and it's got the double L's in there. And so that was it. But over the past maybe 2 years, I've been really kind of thinking I wanted to change the name. And then probably about a year ago, I decided 100% that I was going to change it on January 1st, 2021. And then the NFT thing came up, and I was like, I guess I can wait a few more months, and maybe it would be a really good idea to do a whole big announcement. And so I'm just really bringing it back to my roots, something I feel is like truly authentic to me as an artist, and like the original thing that started off my career as Brilly. So there it is. There's the Brilly.
And this whole movement, this crypto art movement, you're able to kind of go back to your independent, you want to be independent and not work for a studio and do your own thing. And you can even sell your stuff online, and nobody even, you don't have to get involved with anybody else. You're totally independent with NFTs and crypto art in general.
100%. And like something that's kind of interesting about the path I've taken is that I've been doing personal work and not getting paid for it for a decade, just because I love the industry I'm in and I love the craft that I'm doing. And I just feel like I've been unknowingly building for this type of a platform for a decade. It's not like I saw this NFT craze and I'm like, oh, I got to make a bunch of personal work now and jump in on this. It's like, I've been doing this. You know what I mean? I did it before there was pay. If this disappeared tomorrow, guess what? I'm still going to be doing it because I love it. And so I think that's kind of an important aspect, and we can get into that more in a little bit too. But yeah, like the NFT thing happened, and I was like, this is perfect. I'm ready to go. I was meant for this. Let's just make it happen. So I was thrilled at the opportunity.
All right. So everybody who's watching probably wants to know what the heck is an NFT and what is crypto art and how does all this work?
Yeah, it can be confusing. It can be a little daunting. You don't really know how to approach it, and someone explains it, and you're like, I think I'm more confused than I was before. So I'll do my my best job to kind of explain it in ways that everyone can really kind of grasp it. But yeah, it's non-fungible token is the NFT, and this all runs off a blockchain. So just in the same way that like cryptocurrencies run, like Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are the two popular ones. There's other ones out there, but basically the blockchain is really just a way to basically place information in a chronological order, right? And have that digitally and encrypted as well, in a chronological order of when they come. So it keeps that whole history on it. And so the NFT is basically an addition to the blockchain that attaches onto it. I mean, and so it's really, let's sum it all up. So it's the first time in history that you can prove ownership and transfer of ownership to a digital asset, where you could never do that before. Anyone can copy it. You can copy it.
That is big.
Yeah, it's huge. It's really huge. You can copy it, but only one person can actually own it and prove ownership of it. And that's where the value is of it. And so it's not just about, the art. You could do it with any digital asset essentially. But art is really what's taking off right now. But we're going to see it with everything. Everything's going to contracts and all sorts of things are going to make it into the NFT space.
Yeah, we talked about that before we jumped on about photography and all these other artists that, create things that could be digital assets, and be able to do that same thing, technology.
Yeah, photography is in it now. It's not like, hey, maybe in a couple of months they're in it. They're like probably part of the second wave. Like the first wave was like digital art and 3D art and 2D art, all done digitally. And then photography jumped right in because of course it makes sense. They should be in the space. Like everybody should be in this space. Honestly, every art should be in this space. But
Why not, right?
Yeah, well, everybody will be. Right now there's a really big craze. I know there's a lot of artists too that feel like they're like, I'm producing great work and I just can't get in the space. I can't get noticed. But it will come. I keep repeating myself on this. It's like the cream always rises to the top. And so be patient. It's young, it's new, and it will level out, and everyone will get recognized for kind of their amazing artwork. So yeah, NFTs, they're not going away. I think that's another important thing to talk about. They're just not going to go away. They're here forever. And so, someone can make the argument of a bubble or something like that. They could be right, they could be wrong. But one thing that's for sure, that's a fact, is that NFTs are here to stay, though. Yeah, it's a really amazing thing that it just popped up on everybody's radar.
What's the difference between an NFT and a unit of cryptocurrency, like a Bitcoin or one of the other coins? What's the difference between those two things?
Well, they function on the same thing, which is the blockchain network. And so it's the NFT is basically a smart contract that can then tie into the blockchain. So the blockchain is running no matter, like, constantly, whether you want to attach an NFT to it or not. You want to tokenize something, but then basically, like, if you think of, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it, maybe kind of like an Excel spreadsheet that you can never change it, but it's written on there. So like, it keeps that constant lineage of when things happen, and then the NFT just attaches to that.
Okay. I was thinking the thing about NFT, something like that, that was made by somebody, versus cryptocurrency is more something that it doesn't matter who has it. It's the same thing. It's related to currency rather than a piece of art or a piece of music or a contract. It doesn't point to a specific item. It points to a general value of something versus a value of something very specific.
For sure. But the end idea, right, is the same, which is like, like cryptocurrency, when you exchange that, the history is all there with it. And the non-fungible token, the NFT, it's the same thing. So when you attach that, the history is all there. So you can always prove ownership of it, and it's encrypted and it's decentralized. So like, it's not running on like one infrastructure to create these blockchains. It spreads them all out. And like, at this point, I should probably stop talking about it, because I think that's pretty much the extent of my knowledge. It doesn't go a whole lot further into like the actual like process of it. But yeah, the decentralization of it is also a very popular aspect of why it's taking off.
Right now, I'd like to take a moment and interject. We have a good-sized audience. We're going to go ahead and break from the norm. Usually, the format of the webinar is we have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. But since the topic of crypto art and NFTs is such a hot topic, we're going to break the Q&A into 2 sessions. One is going to be right after a covering of the crypto art and NFTs. And the second will be at the end of covering what it takes to become a successful artist. So that'll basically be at the end. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Sorry.
Can you tell us what is there a difference between NFT and crypto art, or are they kind of one and the same?
No, they're one and the same. You know, NFT is everything. You know, and crypto art, they're different. You know, crypto art is like the process of using art to mint as the NFT, but a non-fungible token doesn't necessarily have to be art. And that's my world. But it could be anything at that point. But yeah, that crypto art is when you mint an actual piece of digital art. But the NFT you could do with contracts and all sorts of stuff that's not art related.
So
contracts, patents, you name it.
Can you lead us through the process of how you actually create NFTs?
Yeah. So like the first thing to do, and I recommend like every artist, like just get out there. Now there's a handful of different platforms. There's OpenSea, there's Rarible, Nifty Gateway, Super Rare, Foundation, Known Origin. There's like a handful of them, right? I feel like I probably left out a couple. Some of them are open platforms, so anybody can sign up and anybody can go on. Some are invite only, some are very highly curated, and they all offer something slightly different as well. My recommendation is not to wait. It's like just get on there and like and buy something or put something up. The process of minting something. So go on, make an account, or you know, if it's like Nifty Gateway, Super Rare, Maker's Place, you have to actually get accepted in. So you know, like Super Rare and Nifty Gateway, you have to like propose and submit an application and get accepted onto the platform. They're more like highly curated and very challenging to get on right now at this point. But remember, like this is all new. So like if you don't get on, just like remember that it's like these are small companies. It's not like they're like teams of 1,000 or something like that. It's like there's probably like 20 people or something like that on these teams dealing with hundreds of thousands of applications from artists. And so it's just taking time, and they're really trying to grow and expand, but you know, it's just trying to keep up with that. So first thing is like, just get on one of the platforms. Then you're really going to have to make your digital wallet. So if you haven't traded cryptocurrencies before, or you don't know anything about Ethereum or blockchain, that's a really important aspect. We'll refresh back to Nifty Gateway in a minute as far as the wallet goes and cryptocurrency. But yeah, so you set up a wallet. There's a lot of information out there if you don't know how to set up a wallet. MetaMask is a really popular one. That's how I set up my crypto wallet. And then basically you need that in order to apply that to your account, right? To add money to it, or add Ethereum, or that's how these are all paid through is Ethereum network. And then you can sell and earn Ethereum, and that's dollars. It's not monopoly money. It's real money, you know. And some people confuse that. They're like, well, you know, do you make any money though? Or it's like, it is money. Yeah, it is money, you know. And so it transfers right out to money. It's just like a currency exchange. And so there's a fee applied to that as well. But just like a normal currency exchange fee. And then you can put it into any amount that you wish, any currency you wish. So yeah, so first sign up to a platform, then you'll be prompted to have a digital wallet. MetaMask is really simple to kind of use. And then you go through the minting process. And so the minting process is actually what puts your work and burns it into, or not burn, but puts it into the blockchain. Right. So it writes that information into the blockchain, and then you can put it up for sale. The process is really not all that complicated. I think the most confusing aspect is probably the setting up of the wallet and just kind of wrapping your head around that. Now, something to keep note of is there are what's called gas fees, and gas fees change and on the platform. And that's the process of minting or tokenizing your artwork. And so this can go up and down. And so if you're like, hey, I'll just try to sell my work for $50 or whatever, I don't know the I'd have to look up the equation for what Ethereum that is. But if you're like, we'll just say US dollars for now. So if you want to sell it for $50, well, it might cost you $100 in gas fees. And so it's like, even if you do sell it, you would lose $50, and maybe that's not worth it. So you do have to pay attention to that. There's some places that you can just like type in and look up what the gas fees are. A lot of sites don't tell you what they are until after you mint it. So it's hard, and that's because the prices go up and down. So it's like, well, it might be this now, but by the time yours goes into the minting process, it might go up, or, it might go down. But gas fees are in there. So it's something that they're working on to eliminate that when Ethereum 2.0 comes out. But who knows when that's going to be. But they're planning on trying to get those kind of costs down. So there is a cost equated with uploading and minting your work. So it's not just like free that anyone can send it up there. But that's it. That's basically the process of your work. Now, I said I would refer back to Nifty Gateway in a minute. Something that's really successful about Nifty Gateway is that you can pay via credit card. And so for other people to buy your work, they also have to have a digital wallet. They also have to do that MetaMask setup. But on Nifty Gateway, they can pay through cryptocurrency, or they can pay just via credit card. And that is a huge thing, because there's so much of the market that wants to buy artwork that doesn't have a crypto wallet, or doesn't have the time to figure that out, or is just uninterested, but would like to have an NFT. And that's a way that they can do it. But for the most part, all the other platforms, you do have to have that digital wallet set up.
You said gas fees. It's like gas you put in the car gas. Right?
Yeah, and basically, it basically is charge, I guess, for kind of electricity for the minting process, because all this stuff runs off of like the graphics cards, the GPUs of computers, right? If anyone's thought about mining Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency, that's where it's happening from. That's what's creating that. And so it's the same thing, same type of process to put NFTs onto the blockchain.
Sweet. Okay.
So tell us a little bit more about Nifty Gateway.
Yeah. So Nifty Gateway was really, when I first heard about the space, they were the first company I was like, I want to be on Nifty Gateway. I really liked the fact that it was exclusive and hard to get into. And I felt like I had something to offer. I felt like I wasn't just like going on there without a clue. So like, if you're an artist and you want to try to get on Nifty Gateway, my biggest recommendation is to sell yourself and pitch yourself like you're pitching to a client. Like, that is it. Come with a plan. Like, put it all together. And I was talking with the team on Nifty a couple of weeks ago on Clubhouse, and that's what they were talking about. It's like, yeah, when you came to us, it was crazy because you had the entire thing mapped out. Like, there's been like a couple little changes, but like, you had a plan right from the get-go. And I think that really helped me kind of get on the platform. And I just kind of kept pursuing it too, like I got no's before I got yeses. And I think that's a very important thing to mention. And it was just like, keep pursuing, and the yeses then started to come. But for me, Nifty Gateway, I love that you could buy an NFT with a credit card. I thought that was a really valuable asset that they had. And I really also like the big drop. So like, they do a really good job at marketing artists before their drop to pull in a lot of people and eyeballs on the work itself. And they also did a really nice job of, I think, having meaningful drops, things that looked like they were planned and time was put into them. Now, there's always exceptions. I've seen stuff on there and I'm like, that one looks kind of like rushed and they didn't really care about what they were doing. There's pros and cons of every platform, and not every drop is equal. So that's like important to mention as well. But yeah, it just really kind of spoke to me on that level. And I thought I had a plan worthy enough, and I thought I had kind of work to back it up for me to maybe be on that platform. And fortunately, they kind of saw my vision, and then I had my first drop. Wow, was it last week? It's crazy. Yeah, I guess it was last week.
Week, yeah, Monday last week, right?
Yep.
I saw the video that you did leading into that, talking about what you get if you buy into it. Can you tell us a little bit about how you put that together?
Yeah, I'd love to, because I put everything into it, and some people think that it's just like, you just, hey, you just uploaded a bunch of old work and some new work. No, I put thousands of dollars into my drop, not knowing if I would get that back. I didn't have expectations coming in of like, how much money am I going to make. I didn't care about that at all. Like, I thought I would do well, right? Don't get me wrong, but I wasn't like, if I don't get this, I'm going to be unhappy. If I think I'm going to get this, I should get that much money or whatever. Did not think about that. What I wanted was people to know that I'm in this space and I'm not going anywhere. And I wanted people to, I wanted to assume that nobody knew me in this space too. I might be known in the digital art world, but I'm not known in the NFT space. And so I also wanted to say, hey, like, this is me and this is what I'm going to bring to the table. And so part of my crypto art drop also include physical tokens as well.
Yeah, that was
Actually
awesome. I
have,
saw the kit. That was awesome kit,
Yeah.
by the way.
oh, thanks.
Oh,
Yeah. And so like all the boxes were designed by me, and I had them, I didn't hand make the boxes, but they were handmade professionally. They're unique, one of a kind pieces. And then like designed all the prints for them. I had a bunch of stuff, but then one of the coolest things was I took my computer, and for 3 of my artworks I used to render the graphics card I used to render them, I actually ripped that graphics card out of my machine and got it custom encased. And I did that all by hand as well. I actually have one here. I may as well grab it since we're talking. And so like, this is it, right? This is the graphics card
That's
from a
cool.
machine. And so they're all signed and edition numbered, but I thought it was really kind of a dope thing because it played into a couple things. One, like, that is the piece of the computer that I use to actually render out the artwork. So it's kind of like my digital
That's
paintbrush
badass.
and canvas, and then it also pays homage to how the minting process as well as cryptocurrency is mined, because it's all done on the graphics card too. So I was like, this is kind of a cool idea. And it's like the first and the last. So I'm ripping my computer apart and giving them my favorite pieces along with this GPU. And so there's a lot of elements like that. But and then for the owners, if you notice, there is a QR code on the back here. It doesn't matter if you try to scan it, because you have to register your art to get into the page. But if you're the owner of one of these pieces of art, I made a special page just for the owner, where they are the only ones who can see all the behind the scenes stuff of how I made that. So sometimes, and they're all different, but I brought them through the kind of concept. I showed them scenes that I didn't decide to go with, alternate frames, stuff that like no one ever saw, because my goal was that I wanted to kind of have a relationship with my collectors if that's what they wanted. And the idea that 2 people in the world could know everything about the piece, one being me and the other one being the art collector, I thought that was really cool, because I spoke to a lot of art collectors, and they love collecting art and they love collecting things and they love knowing about what they have. And so I was like, I want to make sure that it's not for me just a digital transaction, but I'm giving them insight to me, how I think about my work, how I create my work, and so on. So yeah, those are kind of the physical tokens that came along with my digital pieces as well.
Those are pretty cool.
Yeah, thanks.
So we've gone through the steps. How about just generally being successful selling crypto art? What does it take to get there, to get to that point?
I'd say be patient. Be patient. And someone wrote something really nice to me after my drop was done, and they said it took you 10 years to be an overnight success, and that's something that most people won't think of. And I was like, that was probably the nicest thing anyone said to me at like during my drop moment. Like, people were like very congratulative and like very nice, but like I really like appreciated that, because it's like, yes, like I have been doing this for a long time, and it feels good to kind of be recognized for that in a different way. So I was like just really appreciative. So I would say the path that I took, right? I can't project other successful ways of taking the path. There's many of them, but how I found success in this was to just do it consistently, and do it for the love of it. Don't do it for the likes. Don't do it for the follows. Don't do it for the money. some people don't like my work at all. Some people like it. Some things don't get shown on Instagram, like algorithms, likes, followers. My whole goal always was to make myself better and improve as an artist. And if that resonated with people, cool. If it didn't, well, I wasn't making it for them anyway. I was always making it for me. And so I think that's kind of an important thing, is like to not follow, not like think your work is good because you're getting likes or follows. It's like, if you are progressing, then you're doing good. If you're remaining stagnant, then you're not. Who cares about the likes? And likes and followers will come with that. So just follow your own passion, make yourself better, and the rest will kind of come. So I'd recommend that to everybody. Just keep your head down and just create.
That's awesome advice. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Are
We
you?
do got some questions. Go ahead,
I'm
Jeff.
sorry. I wanted to ask one more question. I'm curious about. Are you actually? You're a professor at Ringling, so are you actually teaching right now, or are you in a COVID break? Are you teaching online?
Yeah, no, I'm still teaching. I had a class this morning. It's all running remote. I actually absolutely love it. I feel like there's so much more successful things actually about running my class remote with my students. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm having the most fun teaching right now than actually I ever have before as well. And yeah, my classes are still running, and I have more time for my students, and we get to hang out more and talk more. And it's really been great. Yeah. So I think last year around this time, they closed down. Like they said, okay, no one's coming back. And then we kind of started, running remote classes. Fortunately for me and a handful of the other faculty in my department specifically, we've been doing this type of stuff forever. We've been doing training online. We've been doing, like this is how we communicate with clients already. This is how all of our projects work. Like we're not usually sitting next to clients when we work with them. We're talking over the phone or through video. And so when this hit, we were all ready to go. We're like, okay, hey, I mean, this is just kind of how our industry works anyway. And so we were really able to seamlessly, transfer that over. So the classes are going really, really great. And I've got some really awesome, talented students last year and this year, insanely talented. And they're doing really well in with like the circumstances and things like that. And I just kind of, make sure I explain to them that like, hey, this is actually better training. They have a better advantage in my industry during these circumstances than if they didn't go through this, because this is giving them more real life experience, because this is how they're going to communicate with clients in the future. Because that's how we communicated with clients prior to crypto, or prior to Corona and kind of COVID situation.
Well, I see a crypto unit in your future if you haven't already done that yet, for sure.
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome.
All right.
Yeah. There was there's one more bit that I think we wanted to cover, and that's how do you get paid?
Through cryptocurrencies,
Yeah.
and like through NFTs.
Mhm.
So I'm on Nifty Gateway, and a beautiful thing about Nifty Gateway too is they handle all the back end stuff. So you can come in there and really just focus on creating. And so for the platform I'm on, they handle all the minting aspects and setting that stuff up, and you just get paid out dollars. That's how so the transfer is already done from them, comes right to you. The other ones you'll get paid through Ethereum, and then you can just transfer them right to dollars into your account also. So I also use like Gemini, which is actually owned by Nifty Gateway, but I was using them before for just trading of cryptocurrencies and stuff like that, for like Bitcoin, Ethereum, a couple other like altcoins and stuff like that. So I was already using Gemini for kind of like trading prior to this moment. So I had it, but you can just transfer it right to there, and you can trade them. Like, you can start putting them back into Ethereum if you want and investing, or you can just put them directly into your bank account. Now I think if you're making a lot of money on them, you should definitely make sure you talk to an accountant and figure all that out for tax purposes ahead of time. Because I don't know, I do have an accountant, so I might not know all the details about that, because that's why I have an accountant. But there's definitely a lot of thought that you should put into the taxes and your options for that. But yeah, it ends up just being straight whatever currency that you are.
There's some people that want to see your artwork that, well, rather than showing it here, maybe it would be best if you could provide your website address.
Sure.
Yeah, your website just recently changed too, right? Is the lock and loading?
Yeah, it's yobrilly.com, and then Instagram and Twitter, it's yo_Brilly. So you'll see my my website. Yeah, if I mean I could probably put the URL in here for everybody for kind of the website, and then I'll throw in my Instagram as well. So first one coming in is my website, and you'll see that's got like client work, and we could get into that too. You'll see like at the end on the navigation, I'll have my collections, and this will be a big body of my personal work, because that's really been like my trademark and what's gotten me all my client work and things like that. But then I'll throw in my Instagram as well. I don't have any of these in my search yet right now because it's my name changed fairly recently. So here we go. There's the Instagram as well if you want to check that out, because you'll find more personal work on my Instagram and stuff like that than you will even on my website, because there's things I post on Instagram that don't ever make it up. And sometimes I'll share client work on various stories or something on Instagram, but they don't make it up to kind of my website portfolio.
Yeah, you mentioned how your personal work basically made your career blow up, right?
Yeah.
What was these few pieces do you have like the few pieces of arts that you have back in those days that, were the ones that you showed?
Yeah, I think one of the craziest ones, I was doing a project for Nike for one of their Air Jordan sneakers, and I was on a call. I had a producer that I was working with for that project, and I was on a call, and it was probably, I guess, like 5 people at the Air Jordan team for Nike on the phone, and we were talking about maybe some of the air pockets on the shoes, and somebody didn't know that I was locked and loading on the phone. And they said, "Hey, look up this artist, Locked and Loading." And this was on the Nike team. Yeah. And they're like, "He just posted something this morning. Could you maybe make the air bubbles move like that?" And like a couple of people started laughing. They're like, you're talking, that's who you're talking to right now. And so like, that was kind of a really cool moment. After we got off that call, the producer I was working with called me up. He's like, "Dude, no way. That was amazing." Yeah, I think there's been a lot of things like that. A lot of companies will, yeah, it was really cool.
That just shows that the more work you do and more work you put out there, it could bounce back at you at those awesome moments, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so I've got like a handful of stories more like that, or clients just approaching me and like, "Hey, we love that really weird like alien thing that you did. Can you make us a logo?" It's like lots of times they don't connect at all. It's just like, but they see something and they see that total artistic freedom of when you made it and the creativity, and they're like, "We want you to do something with us." And like, "Are you interested?" And so like, that's kind of how most of them turn out. They're not usually like one-to-one of like translations. It's usually they're complete opposites, but they like kind of what it is that I do. And then they want to incorporate that. Or, companies like Gucci will approach me and they'll say, "Hey, like, we love these 5 images. Can you make something for us that kind of encapsulates what's in these 5 images and then have our product in it?" And so like that'll happen on occasion too. For like Diplo, he for his label Mad Decent, they licensed out like a bunch of just like my personal work for I think like 12 different artists on the Mad Decent label for their album covers and stuff like that. So like, yeah, there's been a lot of like really great moments for like my personal work, and how clients have kind of responded to that.
That's awesome.
I've got a question from the audience, from Dante. He asks, and this kind of dovetails in from what you were just talking about: to sell your personal work, artwork via NFT, how important is it to already have a following?
So I know Dante Rinaldi's like a really amazing VFX artist. Like one of the most talented compositors I've ever met. Is it important to have a following before selling your work? I don't think so. It's a whole new space. Obviously, it never hurts to be able to reach more people and hope that can trickle over onto like the NFT space of selling your work. I think outside of like the community of artists that love my work and bought stuff, I don't know how many people that followed me on Instagram that weren't already artists and friends with me actually bought my stuff. And so I felt like I was kind of brand new in this space. And some of the big collectors of my work did write me after and said, "Hey, we just got into the space. We saw your work. Then we went deeper. We saw your drop, and then we went deeper into your body of work. And like they just discovered me for the first time. And so I don't think it's all that important. I think it might be a little harder. Obviously, if you have a name, and then you can have other people like retweeting your stuff or reposting your stuff. That's like, obviously always going to be beneficial. But I've seen artists that haven't been really well established that make a lot of success on these platforms because there's some are collector or investor that sees value in what it is that they're doing. And they just completely explode, like way bigger than like even my drop. And they barely had any following. So I've seen kind of both.
What do you think makes that happen? For somebody to blow up even though they don't have a following at all. What do you think would make that happen?
Well, art is subjective. And so, I think it goes back to the idea of like, if you're just creating 4 followers or 4 likes, you're on the wrong track, and like stay the course of what makes you, and don't follow the trends and stuff like that. And it will resonate with somebody at some point. And so, everyone could hate my work, but as long as one person in the crypto art or just in art gallery world or art collection world in general loves it, that's all you need. They're contacting artists now and saying, "Hey, let us know when your next drop is. Let us know what you're doing. We're in. We want it." And it's just like this has been happening in the traditional art world for hundreds of years. This is just new for the digital art world, but this is not like it's already been written, and so yeah, I think it can help to have a big following, but it's definitely not needed because it's a new space, and it's a new way to think about art. A lot of the collectors and investors, they also want to find somebody new too, somebody that maybe they're only selling their work for $100, and it's like, oh, I'm going to invest this, or 1,000 or 10,000. I'm going to invest in this artist because I think 5 years from now it's going to be worth 100,000, 200, a million. And so they also want to find the diamonds in the rough too. So they're not just going out there and looking for the super well-known artists. They're also looking for people that they think could be really well-known or have some kind of backing in the future. So I think it's open for everybody.
Kind of American Idol on the crypto art people. All right.
That would be fun, man. If you go head to head, it might be boring during the process of it, but they're like, and go make your artwork. And it's like 5 hours later, I think everyone tunes out. But yeah, that would be kind of fun. They'd have to do some really good editing work, but have artists go head to head for a chance to get onto a certain platform. So it would be entertaining.
I like finding a great new company that hasn't made it yet, but they've just gone public, and you want to bet on that company because you think they're going to become profitable. It's similar to that.
It's exactly
not a profit thing. It's more of an art thing.
Yep, it's exactly how it is, right?
Yeah.
Sticking on the money topic, Marco asked, first question is, are you promoting your own drops, which we already know you do, but do you get commission every time your artwork resells? And how does that work?
On most platforms you do. And so there is a secondary market. So every time you resell or every time someone resells your work, you get 10%. So on Nifty Gateway, that's how their secondary market works. Some of them don't have a secondary market. So you'll see some collectors like pull your work off the platforms and go to one of the ones that doesn't offer additional payout. But most of them just kind of keep it on the platform, and they like really respect the artist and want them to continue to kind of receive residuals. So yeah, you get 10%, which is really kind of nice. Like if you look at some of the stuff that like Beeple's work sold for, it's like, oh, it just sold again for $8.8 million. Well, he just got another 10% off that secondary sale, and it's like they're happening over and over and over again. So it's a really kind of nice thing.
And just to make that clear too, it's only the artist that gets that 10%. The owner that buys it the first time, once he sells it, that's his profit. He doesn't get any no more residuals off it, right?
Yep, exactly. So if someone sells it on the secondary market for $100,000, the person who owned that gets 90, you get 10. And then the third time it happens, if someone sells it again, then they get 90, you get 10, whoever the new
Gotcha.
owner is. Yeah.
And
So
this is definitely something new that artists could never do before, at least in terms of, not musical artists is one thing, but actually, people who painters or sculptors, they didn't get residuals on reselling of their art after it was sold the first time.
Yep. No, this is a brand new thing, absolutely brand new thing, and it's another one of the most amazing things about the NFT space and the blockchain is that these are built into the kind of contracts through them. It's amazing. It really is.
We have another question from Ronald. Can an animated work or projection be minted, and does its length accumulate greater gas fees? So a 1-minute projection would cost more to mint than a still image. Also, would a higher frame rate or bigger image size increase minting gas fees?
Yeah. So I think the easiest way to think about it, because like you could argue like semantics about it, it's file size, right? And so yes, you could have a really long file, but what if you made it like super tiny, And it's like, okay, it's smaller. So it's really file size. Though certain sites cap you at a certain megabit. I think I don't know them all off the top of my head because I'm only on Nifty Gateway, so I could be wrong here. So don't quote me on this one, but I think like Maker's Place is like 200 megabit file. I think maybe Super Rare is close to 200 as well. Nifty Gateway, I think, is at like 300, 400 megabits, something like that. But yeah, it would definitely equate to a larger price point for the gas fees.
I think that's the end of the questions about crypto art. So maybe we could move on to the next subject that we were going to talk about. Talk a little bit more about your personal work and how important that is, regardless of whether you're going to sell it as crypto art or not.
Wait, I'm sorry. Say that question again.
The importance of creating your own personal work, regardless of whether you're actually selling it on NFTs.
Yeah, I think that's a smart way to look at it because the people who are buying your work also like to look at your past portfolio too. The collectors in the NFT space, they're, from what I've been a part of, they're very intelligent. They're not stupid at all. They've been in a situation. A lot of them have been in the crypto art world for quite some time too, and so they're willing to take high risk for high reward or kind of take a chance. And they do want to know what they're investing in though, and take smart investments. And so, they'll look at your work, they'll look at your portfolio, they'll look at what you've been doing. They'll see it's like, oh, this artist just started making personal work. Now they're obviously just trying to come in here instantly more for a money grab, or if you've been doing it for a while, or maybe they just see, oh, they've just been totally wrapped up in client work because they have to put food on the table, and now they see another option for doing something that is more what they're interested in from the beginning, and now they start like all that stuff like shows evidence. There's a lot of people who've never done art before, like some musicians that are like, I'm an artist now, and like they try to like do a drawing or a painting and put it up. Like those are kind of getting put on the spot for not being truly authentic. It's like, okay, you should have just kind of stayed in your lane. You're obviously in here because you saw money. But yeah, I think it's really important just to focus on your craft and kind of focus on yourself. You probably hear the saying a lot, FOMO, fear of missing out. I've never heard it said more in my entire life than now that NFTs have come about and crypto art has come about. And it's people and artists that really do feel like if they don't get it going right now, they're going to miss out on this opportunity to make money off of their artwork. I say absolutely not. We are just at the beginning of this moment. and movement. Everyone's going to get their time. New platforms are going to arise. Whatever the best platform is now doesn't mean that by this time next year, that's going to be the best platform. Everyone, think about it. There's a lot of money happening in here. Everyone, if you think that people aren't coming up with new and better ways of platforms and putting this stuff out there, you don't know what you're talking about. They are constantly putting things together, and there's going to be new platforms rolling out, and they're going to do things that might resonate with the type of work you do. So just be patient, just focus on building, and then when that comes, you're ready for it.
So you talk a little bit about art imposter syndrome. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, so like imposter syndrome is something that keeps a lot of artists from having the ability to do things with their work, and this is really, really common. I was at a conference, and I think there's probably like 100 people, maybe 120 people there, and there's an artist, and he got up. His name's Ryan Summers, and he said, "Hey, who here feels imposter syndrome?" And everybody raised their hand except for two people, and it was me and it was one other person, and then it had me feeling like I was an imposter for not raising my hand, because I was like, I was like, I have the opposite of it. If something doesn't turn out for me, I always feel like it's for some other reason, right? Like, oh, people aren't liking the recent post I did. That's probably because Instagram's algorithm's not good. It has nothing to do with the fact that my artwork might not be perceived good. It's never like what I'm doing. So it's like, just kind of keep your head down and stay strong. And I really try to instill this kind of mentality in my college students as well, because what imposter syndrome does is it makes you feel like you're not worthy of something and stops you pretty much from pursuing it. It makes you feel like, hey, like, no, they couldn't offer me that opportunity. Like, or if they do offer me that opportunity, like, I can't do it because I'm not good enough to be there. I'm not good enough to be on that platform. And it's insane how many artists have that feeling and have that mentality. It's definitely 90%, if not higher. And I think it's a lot of how artists have gotten taken advantage of. We start accepting things like, okay, they'll pay me less money, or they'll treat me poorly as an employee, or they'll make me work weekends and hours without extra pay. But you know what? This is like what I love to do, and you just accept that. Like, I should just be appreciative that, like, I get to create art for a living, and like that's that. And it's like, hell no, no way. You should get paid, your value and your worth, and don't think that way. And stand up for your value. And if someone's not willing to pay you what your value is, you walk away. And so it starts high tide raises all ships kind of mentality. And
Right.
my idea has never been to like suppress young junior artists, or to tell them they can't make more, or to give them, make them feel inferior. It's like, no, you go out, and this is what they're going to pay you. Go ask for that, or ask for more. Like, don't be timid. Don't accept that. Don't accept free internships. Like, this is your value. You're very talented, and demand it. And give interview tactics and techniques and things like that to kind of beat that imposter syndrome out. It's like, they're asking for a raise, and it's like, well, why do you think you need a raise? And it's like, well, my apartment building's really expensive and I'm paying student loan. I'm like, that is the worst way to ask for a raise. It's not a charity. What
Right.
value are you bringing? And so it's that kind of same mentality, though, that it's that imposter syndrome, that it's like, it couldn't be me being awesome is why I need a raise. Like, it has to be like some outside sources like help me out. And it's like, no, you get this because you're a dope artist, and that's why you should be paid more.
Is being a dope artist someone who has their own artistic style and is unique, or is it that they're really good at something corporate, or is it any of that?
I think it starts off with being nice. I think being a good person is number one. It beats out everything else. You could
Amen
be
to that.
Yeah, you could be the most creative person I've ever met. And if you're a jerk, it's like, I don't want to spend 10 hours a day with you. Like, this is going to be awful. I'd rather have someone who's mediocre, who is like super, super chill and a really good human being. So I think anybody in a management position in the art world that hires someone, they would probably all say and echo that same thing. It's like, I want them to be a cool person, and not like cool, like, hey, nice hat and jeans or something, like really cool to be around. And then the second thing is like, let's see your work, and it's like, okay, cool. You've got good work. You seem really cool. Like, for sure, you come on and be a part of this.
My sentiments are exactly what you just said too. Being a good human being adds so much more to the art. It opens your door basically to further things for you too. So great insight on that.
Exactly. And our industry, like, this industry's small, right? I mean, this digital art world and photography and they're small. They're not all that big in the grand scheme of things. And so it's like, if you're a jerk, that gets around really fast, and it's like, just be cool. Like, the person you're next to right now, they could be your boss next year, or maybe they move and they're at a different studio and you'd like to work there. It's all about kind of connections and just kind of treating everybody with respect and not thinking that you're better than anybody else. And helping people. I think that's been kind of the biggest, one of the biggest things that helped advance my career that I didn't know originally would happen. Like, coming out of like helping somebody, you think like, oh, it's just gonna like maybe take money off my plate. Like, they're gonna learn everything I know how to learn, or times that I could be doing client work. Now I'm sitting here helping. Those were all thoughts that did kind of run through my head at one point. And I found out the outcome was totally opposite when I helped younger artists. The outcome ended up being that I was actually lifted up as someone that people could learn from in the industry. So people kind of put me up on this like weird pedestal of like, oh, if you need help or information, like, yeah, go ask Dave. Like, he's going to be the person. And so like that came out of it. The other thing that came out of it was not sharing or holding back any secrets about how I created my work. Like, at first you're like, if I show people this, everyone else is going to do it. And then it kind of makes my work less valuable. I found that was totally untrue as well. What it did is it made me a better artist because I showed everyone how I did something. And you know what I felt like? I felt like, well, I can't do that again, because like I have to come up with something new to do now, so it pushed me to kind of learn and grow. Whereas like, if I just held it, it's like, well, I mean, what I'm doing is not all that insane. Like, technically, someone's going to be able to figure it out in a month, 2 months, a year. And then I don't even get the credit for teaching anybody, and everyone knows how to do it anyway. So you may as well just share that information, lift up other people when they're interested in learning. And then it forces you to grow and learn new things.
A little switch gear for you. I know you, when we talked earlier, we were discussing professional gear and software, and what do you really need in order to do your job, I guess, if you want to call it it's a vocation, it's a job, whatever you want to call it. But if you're an artist, what's the professional gear you need to be successful?
Yeah, so you can obviously make art with anything. We all know that. The kind of digital art world, I believe you get to a certain spot that anyone can jump in for very minimal, simple laptop, an iPad, a tablet. You can start doing digital art, an iPhone, like things like that. But after you hit kind of that ceiling, you really need to start investing into yourself, and it's not cheap. And getting good gear is the difference for everything. It's like, and this wasn't necessarily a very popular opinion 5-10 years ago. It was like, no, you don't need that computer, you don't need that monitor, you don't need that render engine, you could just use this. And like, that's not what makes me good. What makes me good is like my training in art. And then there's a lot of that's true, but at a certain point, time is not just money, but time is time. And if I have a really powerful machine, it takes me half the time to visualize an image that it takes you. Well, that means I can do a lot more projects. That means I can practice a lot more. It means everything, And so
it does.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And so you can't say that someone who's got a machine that's 10 times slower as mine, it doesn't have a harder time making an image than me. They definitely do. And they're probably going to learn and grow a lot slower. And so it's really kind of worth it and valuable to invest in good gear. Little shameless plug. I got the EIZO monitors. Like, it's this though, that like then puts you up an extra level of being able to visualize your work and create and build upon that. I've got really expensive graphics cards. I've got like 7 or 8 GPUs, I've got new ones. And so it's like, yes, it costs money and I've built it over time. It's not like I was just like, I'm just going to drop $50,000 right now. It's like, I didn't have it. But as I got new projects, I said, okay, I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to invest this back into my station, because that's going to in return make me a better artist. And it does. Obviously, if you don't know the fundamentals of design or animation, or composition, color theory, all that kind of stuff, right? Design fundamentals, then your work's not going to look good with the best equipment ever. But like after you get past that spot and past that point, I really do believe in the digital world, you have to pay to play, and it's very, very important to do so.
We have another question from Marco. He says, I'm a fine art photographer. So what you upload and sell is just and only a digital file of a photograph and never an actual print?
Yep, exactly. The NFT is the digital item. So what makes this such a special place, and I said this at the beginning, I'll repeat this again because I think some people probably trickled in as well. But the NFT is the first time someone can now prove ownership over a digital asset, not just a copy of it, but prove ownership and prove who's owned it before and how it's been traded since that point. It's really absolutely genius, and that's what it is. So the print has nothing to do with it. When somebody owns your NFT, they don't own the licensing or copyright to it either. That remains with you as the artist, which is another amazing thing. So, you selling that photograph, right, that you took, doesn't mean that person can now go and sell that to IKEA and make hundreds of millions of dollars. And you're like, whoa, that was crazy. They bought it from me for $300, sold it at IKEA, made millions. No, they can't do that. It's still yours. All they can do is transfer ownership to somebody else to hold on to that piece. And as we all know, art appreciates in value. It's very rare that art depreciates. And so that's kind of the notion of that too. When someone buys a piece of artwork, it holds its value. And obviously it's only worth what someone's willing to pay for it. But that's the whole idea. That's art. That's the world we're in.
It's so for in Marco's case, he's a fine art photographer. He's shooting fine art, and I guess if you're shooting fine art, you probably will want to be working with the person who owns the actual art if you're going to make an NFT out of it. Is that correct?
Yeah. So you're saying like a fine art photographer, and you're saying the person who owns the NFT. Could you repeat that again?
I think he's saying that he shoots fine art, like art that was maybe a painting. He shoots that and digitizes it. So would he also need to work with the artist that created that art, or whoever owns the physical art?
Yes.
To make that.
So you're saying like if you took a photo of the statue of David, or if you took a photo of the Mona Lisa, yeah, I mean, you can't just like upload that. I'm sure like there's nothing that would stop you, but it would be some kind of copyright infringement. And the space is new, so you might be able to kind of get away with it.
Eventually, I think probably copyright police on things like that, I suppose, right?
Yeah, I mean, the reputable sites will remove that. It wouldn't make it past them. But there's other places like OpenSea that everyone's allowed to upload onto. But again, this is all really new. And Marco just followed up. He doesn't shoot art. He does fine art photography.
Okay, all right.
But yeah. Yeah, like this is all new. There's going to be a system in place that like if someone uploads like it, just very similar to how audio works on like YouTube, right? If you upload a song and you don't have the copyright to it, it gets flagged really quickly, right? It's going to happen with footage and video very, very soon, to the point where if you upload a big, you do not own this. You're not able to re-put this up anywhere, re-upload this. That's coming.
Yeah.
Well, there's a follow-up question that Marco also had on that, I guess. Can you limit the owner of the digital file to ever print that file?
Can you limit the owner of the file to never print it?
Yeah, I think,
That's the
can you limit
question.
the owner of the digital file to ever print that file? Or I guess how many times he could print it, or if he
Or at
could print it
all.
at all.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to print it at all. I mean, I don't see what the problem would be. I guess they can print it for themselves. Yeah, they can print it, but they can't monetize off it because you own the copyright of that. So yeah, sure. I guess they could like print it and, hang it on their own wall. But what you'll notice in this space, the value is not in their eyes in the physical, it's in the digital. And so that's it could happen, but it's less likely because the people who are buying this see that the value is in the digital ownership of that NFT. It's hard to wrap our heads around because we're so used to like, you buy something and it's like, here it is. And
Yeah, you
it
have
goes
it.
from my hands to your hands. It's tangible. You
Right.
like hang it on the wall. And now it's like, hold on, like someone actually just appreciates the idea that they can basically have a certificate, a digital certificate that says I own something. But that is it. That is what they want. Now there are ways to view this. There's, I don't think I have one in like proximity to me that I could grab. But there's all digital displays that you can buy, and they're locked and they're encased, and they just play or show your picture or video on them, and you can't ever remove it. There's digital frames.
Yep.
I was at a really well known art collector's house in LA on Saturday night, and he had big wall of digital displays. He had the handheld digital displays set up everywhere, and so he had his digital artwork that he owned via the blockchain displayed around the room. And there's also some video screens that their sole purpose is to connect to your wallet, your digital wallet, and you can just almost like a Chromecast just say what piece of art in your wallet would you like to have projected up onto that screen. So like it's not like you can't ever see it. Like, yeah, you can definitely show it and see it and have it. But yeah, it's hard to wrap your head around the value not being in the physical anymore, especially someone like a photographer. When you're like, it's like just showing someone the back of your camera is like somewhat lame, but like getting a nice, beautiful print and giving that and having that displayed is everything. And now it's like, no, it's just like the certificate that shows that they own it is the value. And that's kind of like mind blowing.
I think that's it for questions.
Awesome. Anything else we wanted to dive into? I'm going. I'm having a great time
I know,
chatting. So if we're all having fun, I'm good.
Well, we've gone quite a bit past our time, so we should probably go ahead and wrap it up.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much, David, for joining us, and great to have you as an ambassador as well. So,
I'm thrilled to be here.
Much more of this.
Yeah, thank you.
I couldn't believe it when Matthew was like, "Yeah, we've known each other for 3 years." I'm like, is that it? Was that it? Is that only 3 years? So no, it's awesome. And I've been coming to conferences and absolutely drooling over your monitors now for so long, that it's just awesome that this was able to line up and we're able to kind of like partner up and collaborate now, because I've been a fan of what you guys do now for several years, and this is amazing. So really appreciate you having me on here, and I would absolutely love to come by and do this again.
All right.
Definitely. Well, we're glad that you're aboard, and all those times meeting you at those trade shows, came to this. So we're happy that you're on board as an ambassador, and we got some cool ass projects I know you and I talked about, and your next drop too, coming April. What was it?
April 20th, 420. Yeah, the next drop. It's going to be a big one, a big music collab with me and an artist that I've been a very big fan of for almost 2 decades. So I'm excited for that one.
All right.
Well, sweet.
Looking forward to it.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.